Hello everyone and welcome back to the 6 of you who watched my previous video. It's not too late. It's right there. Click on it. I'll wait. You're back? Okay, good. Today I'm going to be working on 2 different weapons from the Mortal Kombat series. If you couldn't guess. Skarlet's Kamidogu, her Knife of Chaos from Mortal Kombat 11. Representing the 2D era of games will be none other than... No, not him. Baraka and his arm blades. Pretty sure she's going to be left out of the movie. But if they leave them both out of the movie, I'm going to riot. But for now...
Fight!
Step 1. Make sure I can get Baraka's arm cuff thingy to fit on my arm. Doing that, I used a little technique I found online. I'm not going to go into super fine detail. You can find instructions on how to make these on many YouTube videos, and it's best to learn from the experts, which I'm nowhere near. But for my baked potato, it's basically aluminum foil wrapped in duct tape, picture taken of the arm cast. Because I can't make straight lines to save my soul, I imported the picture to Inkscape in order to make sure my lines were straight so that the cuff would line up properly and not give any weird bulges when I cemented it together. And this is what happens when you rush. Right when I finished with the plasti dip, I noticed that I could see through the knife. And that's something not supposed to be. Today served as a brutal reminder of why I hate imperial measurements. I really hate fractions. This right here is the result of screwing up your math. It's a lost cause, and now it's time to just start over. Starting with Skarlet's blade, well, starting over with Skarlet's blade, the blade itself, I'm using... The hell was I using? For the blade core, I'm using 6mm foam, and for the handle, I'm using some 4mm foam. For the side guard pieces, I'm using 4mm foam, and for the handle itself, I'm using some leftover 10mm foam floor mat, mostly just to get rid of it. To give the blade a bit of a hammered metal look, I used one of these stone sharpening bits, I think it is, not 100% sure, and just smacked at the foam a little bit to give it these dents. After that, just a little bit of heat from the heat gun to get rid of some extra foam and some unwanted peaks. You have yourself a hammered blade. In progress. What I didn't do in the original is, and I'm fixing here, is the profile of the knife, which is completely flat. There's no curve to it between the blade and the guard. So I cut out some extra 6mm foam pieces to add some extra support and to make sure everything's nice and flat. After double checking and triple checking and quadruple checking to make sure I don't have that gap again, time to get sanding. A whole lot of sanding. I'm pretty sure by the time I was done sanding, it was a good 50-50 split between actual foam and foam dust. Which is why, kids, always wear your respirator. Foam dust is not good for your lungs. Right before plasti dipping and heat sealing the foam, I decided to make a few little cuts for the accents on the blade instead of adding more foam, and use the heat gun to open up those little cuts. The main blade on Baraka's arm is, I've sandwiched two pieces of 6mm foam together. I did try using a just 10mm foam floor mat earlier, but it was way too flimsy and it could not hold up at all. So I just tossed it and used the 6mm foam in its place. Same goes for the two spikes on the side. As for the cuff, which will be representing his forearm, I used 4mm foam. And those three little spur cloth thingies that hang out behind the blade, I used some scraps of my 10mm floor mat foam. Even though they are metallic, Baraka's arm blades are supposed to be organic. So this is where the FOMO came in handy to kind of build up the flesh area to give that bursting out of your arm look, which I don't think I could get without or with regular foam. So I probably could, but it would take way too much sanding, and my lungs are already 30% dust, so I didn't want to go there. Of course, I'm only kidding. I always use a respirator, and so should you, especially when dealing with foam or contact cement fumes. Plasti dip. Done. Too much coats of spray paint. Done. Way too shiny to be chrome. Done. Now to get rid of that. Now the hand painting part, and hopefully killing some of this shine, because holy While waiting for the FOMO and paint to dry, I decided to do a little research to kill the time. And by research, I mean playing a little bit of old school Mortal Kombat 2. And upon selecting Baraka, I noticed two things. His arms are not covered. There's no cloth, it's just arm and blade. Also, earlier in the video, I'm pretty sure I did mention Baraka was supposed to be representing the 2D era of Mortal Kombat, and the wrapping I was going to use is more reminiscent of his more recent 3D adventures. I'm going old school and just going straight arm, straight blade. But the side effect to that was trying to get the paint to match the skin tone. Either Baraka needs to stay indoors a little bit, or I need to go outside a little more. And I'm pretty sure it's the second one, because it doesn't quite match. But it does look Baraka accurate. Baraculate? Yeah, I'm just going to say it's Baraculate. And for that, I used a very, very specific type of paint called a whole lot of brown with a tiny bit of yellow and white. Not sure if the yellow and white did much, but it did add to the overall realistic look of the skin. Last step for Skarlet's knife is a little bit of weathering with a small touch of rub and buff. Quick wash with some seriously watered down black paint. Skarlet's knife is now done. On to Baraka. I seriously doubt Outworld has any manicurists, so this blade is gonna have to be really, really dirty. And I haven't seen any outhouses in Outworld, or bathrooms for that matter, which raises some strange questions that I'm not going to ask. But that also means Baraka's arm will be really freaking dirty. So that's a bonus for me, because more dirt means less shine. And let's be honest, this blade is way too damn shiny. But not for long. To add a little bit of depth to the arm and the arm blade sockets or protrusions, I don't know what they'd be called. To add a little bit more definition and depth, I went with two types of washes. The first one, at the bottom, I used the same black paint that I used for Skarlet's knife. After that was mostly dry, I went over it again with the dark brown paint, again highly watered down, and I gave it like this nice three-tone look, which I think adds to the realism of the blades. While contemplating whether or not to put some fake blood up at the top as if he's just skewered someone, or if that might be a bit much. kidding, it's foam. Can't hurt apply. But it looks pretty damn good, don't you think? Well, I'm ready for combat. Are you? Hee. I'd say this build was a flawless victory.
It's official. You suck.
Between our little measurement mishap and my new love-hate relationship for FOMO, could have gone better, but it could have gone way worse. In the end, it all came out great. Thanks for joining me on this adventure to Outworld. Till next time. Oh, I'm sure one or two of you might be wondering, why does it say part 1 on the title card if the weapons are complete? But are they? That's right. Part 2 will be the right arm blade. It will be a fully retractable metal arm blade. Hopefully. And perhaps a guest appearance by a secret character? Who knows? See you then.